We begin in Paris, where French President Francois Hollande has described the murder of a policeman and the shooting of 2 others as cowardly and an act of terrorism. Authorities say the attacker, who was shot and killed by police, has now been identified from papers left in his car. Islamic State has claimed responsibility, and various reports say the dead man was known to authorities as a threat or as someone who had recently been radicalised. Very conflicting reports coming in on the identity of the assailant. Presidential elections begin in France this weekend, and Marine Le Pen, the far-right National Front candidate, has campaigned hard on cracking down on Islamist extremists. Officials say the attack was designed, quote, to have an impact in this period. We're hoping now to be able to go to a report from Bridget Burke.
Amateur video showed a chaotic scene on Paris's famed Champs-Élysées boulevard shortly after a gunman shot and killed 1 police officer and injured 2 others. The wide avenue that leads away from the Arc de Triomphe had been crowded with Parisians and tourists enjoying a spring evening. Witnesses say a man got out of a car and began shooting with a machine gun. This man saw what happened from the pavement.
There was a police van and the guy came in an Audi 80, an old grey Audi. He parked just behind the van and he got out with a Kalashnikov and I heard 6 gunshots. I thought they were firecrackers because we all looked around the road and there was no one. In fact, he was hidden behind the van and shooting at the police. I think he hit a policeman. As soon as the policeman opened the door of the van, he fell, I think. As soon as we saw that, we all ran back inside. We hid and I went up to the 1st floor and we saw them shoot him.
I didn't see what happened. I heard shouting and people running. There was a woman. She started crying. She said, "Don't go onto the Champs-Élysées. Don't go onto the Champs-Élysées." There was an attack and she was crying and scared and everyone was running. It was total chaos.
Police officers rushed to clear people from the avenue.
Allez, s'il vous plaît. Allez, on remonte tous. Allez. Allez, on y va.
The Paris prosecutor says the gunman has been identified. Police searched the attacker's home in eastern Paris, and officials say it can't be ruled out that he had accomplices. French President Francois Hollande says he is convinced that the shooting was a terrorist attack.
Conseil de défense demain matin à 8 heures.
Islamic State claimed responsibility for the attack, which comes just days before the French presidential elections. France has been living under a state of emergency since 2015 and has suffered a spate of Islamist militant attacks, mostly perpetrated by young men who grew up in France and Belgium. Earlier this week, 2 men were arrested in Marseille on suspicion of planning an attack ahead of the election. Far-right candidate Marine Le Pen says the nightmare is starting again and called for measures to tackle Islamic terrorism. Conservative candidate Francois Hollande called for the presidential election campaign to be suspended.
I think that given the current circumstances, it would not be appropriate to go ahead with the election campaign today and tomorrow, because we have first and foremost to come together in solidarity with our police, the ones who have been killed and injured, and also the ones putting their lives on the line to ensure our security. We also have to show our solidarity with the French population, which is growing ever more concerned with the growing number of these acts of terror.
For Checkpoint, Bridget Burke.